You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello everyone, thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Good to be here. Woo! It is the two of us this week, and we've got some fun stuff.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're warning me ahead of time that it's going to be extra
special? For the next
special?
Few weeks, I'm sorry.
You've kind of gotten into the Halloween spirit early, haven't you?
Yeah. I got a new mug from Target that is a little ghost with a little pumpkin. It's been my mug for the solid week and a half now.
Nice.
So, yes. Sorry.
No need to apologize. That's what the show is all about. I am going to take us back in time this week, way back to the distant year of 2023.
Oh my goodness gracious,
so
Kirk!
Really,
it's just
not
been
far back at all.
Blur in my head. It was so I barely remember. It was so long ago.
What were you doing on September 16th, 2023? No, I'm kidding. You don't have to answer that question.
I was probably teaching.
Probably. You probably didn't notice then, on September 16th, 2023, something strange appeared on seismographs around the world. Now, seismographs are the very sensitive instruments that can detect and record vibrations in the ground for things like earthquakes and whatnot.
Right.
These instruments picked up a strong peak followed by a ringing vibration. It was as though the earth was a bell and something had struck it so hard that it continued to ring. And Rachel, that ringing lasted for 9 days.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Truly.
That is too long.
Truly bizarre.
That's too long.
Yeah. Now there's a number of things that can show up as that initial sort of clap of the bell, if you will. And it could obviously be an earthquake, which is the main thing we're, kind of looking for with those. Could be an atomic blast. Those can be detected. Could be a calving glacier, or maybe even a large meteor strike, sort of theoretically. But none of these things
normally happen and last for 9 days.
Yeah. Well spotted. They should not keep the earth ringing for 9 days. And this sort of lasting ringing is called a VLP, or a very long period wave. And we know they can be caused by literal waves, like when a glacier calves, it can create a VLP. But no one's ever seen one or heard one. I can say it's not something you can really hear, but or vibrations you could pick up. But no one's really detected one that lasted for 9 days. So this was a real mystery. I do actually have an audio sample to play for everybody. This isn't, of course, the actual sound, right? Because this is super low frequency. This is like a audio representation of the data of that initial ring. Okay, so here goes.
What? That's so weird.
Yeah, I mean,
what?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's
what?
It's just sort of a ping, like a little ring. But that's what sort of the data sounds like. It was funny. I found different examples of this online, and some were like this high-pitched ping, and some were like a bong, like a low rumble. And it's like, oh, come on. You just chose what frequency to set it to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just the data. It's not the actual sound, which would be so far below human hearing. But so this was a mystery, right? To be sure. And researchers wanted to know what had caused this. So a research team of, get this, 68 scientists from 40 institutions in 15 countries.
People were
formed
curious.
A working group. Oh, yeah. I mean, when something weird happens, everyone's like,
this?
I'm in. What's going on? So this working group got together to get to the bottom of the mystery. And what they found, I think, is stranger than anyone expected. After a year of study, they have just recently revealed that the initial ring of the bell was caused by what some would call a landslide. But I'm going to go on the record and say that that is massively underselling it. So the location of this calamity was the picturesque fjord in Greenland called the Dixon Fjord. It's actually a place where apparently cruise ships sometimes like to visit to show people like this breathtaking wild scenery. It's not a place where people are very often, though.
Okay.
It's quite remote. Often there is no one there for months and months and months on end. Okay. On September 16th, 2023, a literal mountain collapsed into the fjord. Now,
what?
I've seen before and after photos. They have some online, and they have one of those little sliders where you can slide left and right, kind of before and after. I'm sure we've all seen images like this online. And I kind of studied it for a while, going back and forth. And there was some subtle changes. I mean, the angle was like slightly different in the photos. So I'm kind of looking at it going, okay, it's a different season. The lighting is a little different. Yeah, what I could see is that there clearly had been a glacier, right? Like a glacier coming down the end of this fjord that was now gone. And there was a scree field kind of in its place. And of course, some rock had kind of been moved here and there, but I was having trouble, to be honest, seeing what made this such a big deal.
Right.
Now, when I looked at the slider image a second time, like a few weeks later, when I was kind of getting back into the story, it suddenly hit me. The important part wasn't down by the water. Like, I'm sure, the glacier was gone. But what was really important was the skyline and the background, because an entire mountain was missing on the skyline. It just collapsed and is gone.
Oh, no.
So to put this into perspective, researchers estimate a combined total of 25 million cubic meters of rock and ice collapsed into the fjord.
Oh,
now,
my God.
you may know, Rachel, I do so love putting numbers like this into other units and things so we can wrap our heads around them.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you can probably picture a cubic meter of earth and rock and stuff.
Right.
You might even be able to picture 25. But when you get to 25 million cubic meters, it's like, it literally means nothing. You go, it's big,
I mean,
right?
like, literally in a presentation that I do at work is we talk about, like, logging, and to give people, like, perspective of how many trees were felled in less than 100 years. We put it into perspective of it was so many trees that we could make a 4-lane wooden highway from the planet to the moon. That's how many trees. And, like, seeing kids, they're like, jaws drop.
That's a lot. The moon is further than people think.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry.
Well,
keep going.
That's great. The Institut de Physique du Globe de Paris beat me to it. They actually already did the math, so I didn't have to do it. They described this as 10,000 Olympic swimming pools, or my personal favorite, 220,000 full tractor trailer trucks.
Oh, no.
They calculated, and I also appreciate this, that many semi-trucks lined up full of rock and ice would stretch 3,700 kilometers or 2,300 miles. I will admit, I still really couldn't picture that distance, so I looked it up. And let me put it another way. That is almost the distance, as the crow flies, from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco, California.
That is, oh my God.
So just imagine a line of semi-trailers full of rock and ice that stretches coast to coast across the entire United States. And now, dump all of that rock at once into a fjord in Greenland, all in one spot. So this was a really big deal.
Yeah.
It is perhaps no surprise that this event was picked up around the world on seismographs. But what about the 9 days of
why was it 9
ringing?
days? Was it like all at once, or was it like in
pretty much. I mean, I imagine the landslide itself took some time to progress, right? Kind of build up and then it all goes in. But it was probably relatively rapid. So here's where it gets really wild. This isn't even the wild part, I think.
I'm sorry. Is not already wild enough, Kirk?
No, it's not, Rachel, because it turns out dumping 25 million cubic meters of rock into a body of water has consequences.
Oh, does
Based on modeling and then actual measurements in the actual fjord.
Oh, God.
The researchers believe the collapse triggered a tsunami with a peak height of 200 meters. That is 656 feet high.
How many
A
Rachels?
656 foot high wall of water. It's a lot of Rachels.
That's so many Rachels. Oh my God. 600? No.
Yeah.
Kirk,
now,
I would just accept my fate if I saw that
you're
coming
like,
for me. I'm
well,
like, well, this is
oh
it.
no, you'd be dead. There's no
I'm
question.
dead.
It would
I'm
be
done.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's been a good life.
Now that was sort of, I think, the initial splash, kind of. But it was that.
I'm sorry.
high for
Did you
distance.
say the initial splash?
Maybe it feels a little unfair calling it a splash, but I don't know how else to describe it. It's like here it is. It's like you jump into the bathtub, okay, full of water. There's going to be a big whoosh, big wave, right?
Right.
That initial splash went for a distance of at least 60 meters or about 200 feet. That's how it was. So it was like 656 foot high wave for 200 feet, and then it started to subside to a no less terrifying 110 meters or 360 feet as it raced down the entire length of the fjord. 360 foot high wave, 200 meters, 110 meters, screaming down the glacier. Now, one of the interesting things about this fjord is that at the opposite end from where the collapse took place, it takes a very sharp 90-degree turn. And my initial thought was, it's like the waves kind of hit it and bounced back. And it's like, well, they did, but a lot of the energy did actually, I guess, make the turn and continue out to sea. And some energy was then directed back the way it came. But also consider if the water had gone up somewhere between 360 and 650 feet up the side of this fjord, it's going to come back down.
Oh.
So now you're dealing with all the water like shooting back down the sides of this very steep fjord. And basically, now it's like you hear that initial jump into the tub.
Yeah.
And now it's like slosh, 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 just kind of going back and forth and back and forth. And basically the water sloshed back and forth like that for 9 days, much like a giant bathtub. And this sloshing created the ringing picked up on the seismographs. I actually found two different heights cited for these waves, probably due to the fact that they got smaller and smaller over time. But one source said they were 7-meter tall waves. That's 23 feet. That's just the after effects of sloshing back and forth. Another said that they were only 1 meter or like 3 feet tall. So that's probably like, I interpreted that to be they started out as these 7-meter tall waves going back and forth. And they were still detectable 9 days later when they were 1 meter tall waves, if that makes sense. That's the best I can kind of interpret what the papers were saying. Now, looking at models, they have computer models of this. It looks like a very chaotic situation, as you can imagine. But interestingly, it looked like the waves are mostly moving side to side in the fjord rather than along the length, which really surprised me because that initial kind of blast was out toward the end, and I would have thought it would have kind of gone back and forth along the fjord. But no, it was mostly going side to side, which I think points to the fact that
the windows or like the logo on like a TV or the DVD logo. When it's like trying to get into the corner, it goes not exactly where you think it's going to go.
Sure. I was thinking more like it shows how much energy was directed to the sides, and that water coming back down was what really created this wave that got set up rather than the initial thrust outward. It was more of the side-to-side motion that kind of stuck around, which is just wild. So that's what I have, and that's it, at least for now. We've solved the mystery of the 9-day ringing of the Earth. I do say for now, because scientists are worried
caught that.
this could happen again.
Kirk, No, Kirk, no.
Well, here's why. This mountain was actually held up by the massive glacier at its base. And what they think happened is the glacier collapsed. Now, this mountain is not going to fall down again, probably. It's probably still a little bit unstable. But the idea is that as we have more and more global warming, and it's causing the rapid melting of more glaciers, this sort of thing will likely happen again. Rock that has had millions of years to be held back in its current stable state, once sort of the dam is broke and the ice is gone at the base, more giant landslides like this could happen in the future. In fact, they're likely to happen again. In this case, no one was killed. There was only damage to a very remote research station that was kind of nearby, caused by the sort of the surge of water. If this were to happen in a more populated area, or if a cruise ship with thousands of passengers
just
happens to be
right
nearby when this happens, it would be catastrophic. I mean, can you imagine? That would be
everyone
horrifying.
would be dead.
Yeah, there was actually a similar but smaller event a number of years ago where there was a village where a number of people did die when something like this happened. So this really is something we do need to keep our eyes on and be aware that climate change certainly has real world effects that can harm us in unexpected ways. It's just a wild story. My sources this week were plentiful. There was the aforementioned Institut de Physique du Globe de Paris, phys.org, and the Helmholtz Center in Potsdam. And then the particular audio that I played was from ABC Australia.
That's what I got. Kirk, I hate that.
Look, we live in an amazing world, and Mother Nature is not always your friend. Put it that way.
Kirk, this podcast just gives me more fears.
I mean, that's not the goal, but okay.
Like, I'm loving it, but I'm also like, oh no.
I'm sure some of our listeners share your feelings. Let us know. By the way, we keep getting comments, people commenting on the show. All the places. YouTube. People comment on the Podbean app, all kinds of places. So we love getting that feedback from you guys on which episodes you're loving. And sometimes we'll get these comments someone commented a while back, and the comment that came through was something like, "It's 11:25 a.m. for me."
Yep.
And I'm like, what?
Oh, because we said good morning.
No, I realized why. Yeah. We had a debate about what time are people listening, and someone replied, and I'm like, oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to know when you're listening.
We're like, oh, yeah, like maybe it's good evening. We don't know.
We record things, and then we don't get the comments. It'll be like they listen to it a month after it goes up, and then that was like maybe a month after we recorded it, and you see a comment, and you're like,
the context is
what did I talk about on the show? So
we're like,
good
what
times.
happened here?
Good times.
We don't remember.
Well,
it's so great.
We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, Rachel's got something fun for us.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, before we get back to the show, quick reminder. A bunch of you have heard this before, but I know a lot of you are members of the Society of Strange, our Patreon group.
As you
probably heard this on you've heard this here, you've heard on other podcasts. Apple is messing with the pricing. They're going to add a 30% surcharge if you sign up via the Patreon app, but only for iOS. So if you're on Android, you're totally fine. If you use iOS and you've been thinking, I've been meaning to become a patron of the show, do it now, because you will be grandfathered in and you will not be charged the extra 30% on top of the fees. But unfortunately, the fees will go up starting in November. So if you become a member of the Society of Strange this month in October, you're grandfathered in. Your prices will not be affected by this price increase they're doing. So open up your app, search for Strange by Nature podcast. You can find out about the different benefits you get. There's 3 different membership levels. Every level gets advertising free episodes, so no ads on those. That's the biggest perk. Then some levels get things like water bottle stickers and things like that. So and bonus content too. So the higher levels, the first level is just getting ad-free episodes. And then higher levels, you get some of the little fun extras and stuff. I posted a picture recently of Rachel, of us at the Renaissance Festival.
Yeah, we stole a TARDIS.
We stole a TARDIS and went back in time. If you want to see that photo, you got to become a member. But we'll get back to the show. Just a reminder, time is running out if you want to get in before the price increase. But let's get back to the show.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You know, sometimes, Kirk, I feel like we just get on the same wavelength. Not to like have a pun because you just talked about a tsunami and all that. But
yeah, there were waves involved. Yeah,
there were waves involved, multiple kinds, in fact. But you mentioned climate change in yours, and climate change actually has an impact within my story this week. So, you were mentioning that, I'm like, interesting.
What do you know?
Now, as I established even just earlier, this show, we've established that I have several fears. And I just reestablished that because of this show, I have more fears. So let's talk about one of those fears. Let's talk about one.
Okay.
So in various years spanning from the 1920s to the 50s and more recently in the early 2000s, and like more consistently, like it happened in more instances rather than one in like the 1920s, one in the 1950s. There were like 5 events that happened in the early aughts.
Okay.
There have been an increase. There have been increase of blooms of a particular jellyfish in the Sea of Japan. Now,
we're going back to jellyfish. Okay.
We're going back to jellyfish. Now, I feel like I've established my fear of jellyfish. Maybe not fear, but like general respect. And
sure, I like putting it that way.
General respect. It's like how I feel about chickens. Like, I respect them. I know that they remember being dinosaurs. Like, it's just one of those.
I thought that was going okay.
Anyway, jellyfish is one of those where I'm like, I respect you. You make me nervous.
That's totally fair.
So there has been an increase of these blooms of jellyfish, especially in the Sea of Japan and in a lot of East Asian seas and spaces. Now, this has a lot of impact as the Korea, China, and Japan all have pretty heavy seafood culture, especially Japan. They rely on fishing pretty like heavily.
Sure.
And a lot of
fish heavy diet.
Right. And like their cuisine and their use of seafood and jellyfish is pretty well known. However, this particular jellyfish isn't one of the preferred jellyfish for for a karagi, I think it is. It doesn't have the right texture. It doesn't have like a crunch to it or anything like that. And overall, like edibility wise, like you can eat it, but it's not like the best quality. Okay.
Okay. Understood.
Right. So as these blooms happen, the fishermen are catching more and more of these jellyfish, which are more undesirable.
Gotcha.
And this particular jellyfish is the it's been a little bit since I've tried Latin. Nemoplema nomorali. Yep. Okay. But like, because they're catching more of this jellyfish, they are getting less of their desired catch. So any sort of fin fish.
Makes sense.
Of course, like that also leads into other issues with how people fish and overfishing and other problems, but we're not going to get into it.
Okay.
But it's just a jellyfish, right?
Yeah, see, clearly not, because otherwise you wouldn't be talking about it on this podcast.
Well, I mean, It is a problem when you're catching 1,500 in a single net set of this particular jellyfish in a day.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's no
Rather
joke.
than any more of like the more profitable fish. And the fact that this
Right.
is a living Medusa and living cnidarian, so it can still it still has venom. So if it gets any of the fish that you're trying to catch, it lowers the quality and thus the amount that you can make off of those fish if those fish survive.
It will affect the other fish that you're catching?
Yeah, it will try because it can eat some of those fish.
Right.
And if it doesn't eat those fish, like if it envenomates them, it can lower the quality and thus lower the amount of money that you can make off that fish. If it doesn't kill them outright.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's just clogging. It's clogging the nets. It's reducing the value of the fish, but it's just a jellyfish. And like,
why do you keep saying it's just a jellyfish?
You'll see.
Oh, no.
So, like, when you get 1,500 in a net, like when you get that many of anything, it can burst like the net. Like it overfills the net and it just causes lots of issues. And you have to spend a lot of time and labor trying to get this jellyfish, which can still sting people. And like if it gets enough, if you get stung enough by these jellyfish, it can actually cause like pretty severe symptoms. And like with anything, it can cause death, right? Like most things can cause death if you have enough of it. Most of it is just a skin irritation, but if you get enough of it, it can compile. And like it has like some damage to the equipment, but again, it's just like this little whitish translucent jellyfish.
Oh boy, I feel like you're just holding something back here, Rachel.
Oh, good, because Kirk.
Yes.
One of the Nomura jellyfish. One, mind you.
Oh boy, okay.
Can get to 2 meters in diameter, which is...
Okay, hold on. When you said they were clogging up the nets, I'm picturing like a little moon jelly, like a little...
No, this is a 2-meter in diameter jellyfish.
And how many did you say were 15,000 per net?
1,500. So not 15,000, but that's in a day.
1,500. Still.
In a day.
And you like you can't touch them with your hands?
It takes a lot of work. They use sticks and everything. Because like you could try to get it with your hands, but like to give context for folks. So the bell of this jellyfish is 2 meters. In non-science, that's 6'7".
Oh man.
Uh-huh.
It's so big.
Kirk, it can weigh up to 440 pounds.
No.
Or 200 kilograms.
No wonder it's ripping the nets when you catch 1,500 of them. Are there any fish in these nets at all at this point? Like,
mostly the jellyfish.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't like that, Kirk. I don't. I hate it.
That is nuts.
And the other part about all of this is it actually, like a lot of other jellyfish, a lot of Medusas, cnidarians, they do really well with warmer ocean waters and coastal areas. And when there's more warmer spaces, it allows them to have these blooms.
Right.
Kirk.
Wow.
Kirk.
Yeah, why do you keep saying my name? What's going on? You're making me worried.
You should be worried because because of what you mentioned also with climate change, these jellyfish are doing better and better. Generally, they only eat like zooplankton, but the Nomura can also eat fish.
Sure.
And they reproduce really quickly. Even if they're attacked, they can release one can release up to can release billions with a B eggs just into the water. So they can release billions of eggs even if they're being attacked.
Oh my God.
Just one jellyfish.
I don't.
And then those jellyfish
go in the water.
And then those little babies, those eggs, will attach, become their little cnidarian selves, and they can grow from the size of a grain of rice to that 2-meter size
how fast.
in 6 months.
That's. I mean, I was prepared for you to say an even worse number than that.
Right.
However,
but still,
like
6
that's
months?
a large size to get to in just 6 months. That's crazy.
Especially when you're going from the size of a grain of rice to something that is much bigger than me.
Oh, yeah.
It's bigger than you, Kirk.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much. I don't like it. I hate it. This is one of the largest cnidarians, one of the largest jellyfish in the world. It is the only one in its genus that is still around. It is a kind of lion's mane is the category that it's in of jellyfish.
Okay.
But I'm just going to leave you with this, Kirk. You remember all the problems that you have with nets, right? As a fisherman.
Well, I mean, not me personally, but yes.
Right. Well, there have been reports and incidences that trying to remove or trying to like bring up the net has capsized trawlers, Kirk.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
All because of this
bonkers.
one jellyfish that I didn't know existed before today, and that I love the ocean. This is well known on this podcast.
Right, that's your jam.
Horrifying, and I love it, but I hate it.
It's the ocean is endlessly fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The fact that this can exist in the thousands, the size of this, just hanging out, being supported by the ocean, and be fine.
It's super cool.
Is very, very cool.
Well,
Scary.
Maybe if your boat is being capsized by nets this heavy, then maybe your nets are too big.
Probably, yeah.
Overfishing is a whole nother issue, but
it is, which is, I have.
We're basically
about
strip mining the ocean, is what we're doing.
Yeah, which is a problem because like the zooplankton, like what ends up happening is this particular jellyfish, especially, will eat the zooplankton, which takes away the resources for the fish that need to eat the zooplankton, and then the bigger jellyfish, the Nemuras, will eat the bigger fish, and then we're also trying to get that fish, and so it just collapses that little ecosystem if it gets too out of hand. But yeah, that was my topic this week, was to talk about this much too large jellyfish that can sink boats.
Yeah, what's the term for like when things are too? Is it megalophobia?
I think
like,
so.
It's just when you're just kind of like, nope, it's too big.
It's too big.
Don't like it.
I hate that.
I'm out.
I think this podcast is making me be that, but it's fine. So my resources this week were, I got some good, solid, basic things from Wikipedia, but also from the Sciazoan from UC Merced. They had a great article, and then Sea Life Base had a great article as well, all about this particular jellyfish. There's a number of other articles about it actually, about the trawlers being taken down and everything, but they're all under paywalls, so love that.
Yep, love that. Great. Well, thanks. Thanks for getting together this week to talk. This is
this is
always Always amazing to see what you got for me.
Oh, yeah. The same to you.
Well,
Like, I'm now horrified all over
Stay
again.
away from the glaciers.
But, Kirk, I want to see one.
Well, I'm sure we could arrange that before they're gone.
Thanks,
All
everyone,
right, everybody,
for
have a
listening.
good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.